Black Diamond Combo. Just open and enjoy. Black Diamond Combo, a nutritious snack. Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Hey, everybody, I'm Rick Walker, and look who's back.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Brendan Kennedy. I am back for a special show.
Yeah. Tonight, it is Convoy reunion night. And Lori, who's been on the show from time to time, it was her idea to do this, and I wish she was here. Maybe she will click the link and join us at some point. And Carla Olson is supposed to be here tonight, and Liz Valee is supposed to be here tonight. Both Liz and Carla went to Ottawa for the convoy, and Brendan helped me kind of rejuvenate and restart this whole channel back when the convoy was heading to Ottawa, and that was about 6 months ago. That's why we're doing the show here tonight. It's sort of the 6-month anniversary.
Ta-da! It's hard to believe, eh?
It is hard to believe. What does it feel like to you, Brendan, 6 months later after all of this?
Well, so much has happened. I feel this is like a year ago. It feels like years ago. Like looking back at everything since then and everything that's happened is absolutely crazy. Put it into this perspective, right? So in the town you live in, they just erected this massive Ukraine monument that, well, not massive, it's a flag at some sort of park garden thing. And that was at the tail end of everything that was happening 6 months ago. Like, the indoctrination is just so thick. When I see things like that, I just see, wow, look, Nazis, great, at the park in Chatham, Ontario, ever nice. It's things like that just make this seem so long ago, these little changes that have happened since then.
It does seem like a long time ago to me. It doesn't seem like 6 months. It seems like a couple of years because so much has happened.
That, and I mean, like we paid hyper attention to just about everything that's been happening, right?
Yeah.
And when you do that, it kind of makes things feel like, oh, gee, like that happened that long ago.
Yeah. I don't know why. Usually things, time goes by quickly. You wouldn't think 6 months would feel the way that it feels. I don't know what it is. I think maybe because there have been so many different events that have happened between, last February and today.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. There's so many big things that have happened. It felt longer than being locked down. Like if you think about the last lockdown that took place in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even remember that anymore? Like I barely remember that. I feel like, we had this time stolen away from us. And people are still dangling as to what's going to happen next.
If you think back to before the convoy, it was like a year ago that the federal election was going on, right?
Yeah, that's another anniversary, right?
Yeah.
Well, the anniversary for that is probably this week. Justin Trudeau was the Prime Minister of Canada. He won a minority government after a year ago today. That
Was it like just about a year ago?
Let me just check the date on that. It won't take long.
I can understand why that feels like it. That just seems to be dragging on forever. Like we can't escape it.
September 20th, 2021. So yeah, that'll be less than 2 weeks holy smokes. And there's so much change that's happened in my life, in my personal life since that time, right? Like I've moved cities, I've done all this other stuff that kind of come up. Of course it feels so long ago.
Yeah. Everybody misses you, Brendan. I'm telling you.
I miss you guys too.
Just look in the chat. Everybody's saying hello to you.
Welcome back.
See, Shelley wants to know if you're back for good. Great to see you, Brendan, says Karen. Sound Advice says, hi, Brendan. Good to see you. Looking rested. Rick needs you. Susan says, miss you. Vicky says, come back. Shelby says, what's up?
What's up?
So, yeah, why don't you fill people in and tell them a little bit, or maybe you don't want to tell people what's going on in your personal life, but everybody's curious.
Well, I mean, just the short and simple of it. I mean, I've had to spend a lot of the summer focused on being a dad, first and foremost, and secondly, just been working. So things have been really hectic and crazy, and a lot of changes that have taken place with that. So that's like about the brunt of it. I'm sure you guys can fill in the gaps. I mean, I don't want to say too much because I've never really talked about my personal life on this television, on this broadcast a whole lot. And I'm sure everybody can understand why. I mean,
yeah, you got to live, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got family and reality sets in at some point, right?
Yeah.
So Diane says, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Well,
and Karen says, you're a great dad. And
I mean, you
Big
have
D
to be.
is giving you a big thumbs up. And Augustina says, it's great to see you guys again. And Big D says, you don't owe the trolls anything, whatever that means.
I don't know.
And Deborah says, welcome back. And Fat Lobus says, you're Batman.
Brendan is Batman.
Which I think is probably true because I've never seen Brendan and Batman in the same place at the same time.
That's
together. I do know this, though. Brendan will always use his superpowers for good, never for evil.
Depends on who you are. I don't think Justin Trudeau likes my superpower too much.
Yeah. So hopefully Carla and Liz join us shortly. I'm not sure where to begin with all of this convoy reunion stuff. We did touch on some of this a couple of nights last week, but it has been 6 months. I guess maybe we should start here today. Where do you think we're at with everything, Brendan?
I think that, well, we have the same players that are playing the same game all the way around. We have a Conservative Party in Canada that's in shambles. We had the People's Party of Canada, which, I mean, we have had great relations with, or we've always appreciated where they were coming from. We still don't have anything like that. We have a Conservative election, which I don't know when that is going to be updated or whatnot, or if Pierre Poilievre is going to save Canada or sink it. The very divided line. everything is in suspended animation right now because we have this whole new thing in the arm that's coming out. Justin Trudeau wants a 80 to 95% thing in the arm rate for all of Canadians. What are the employers going to do? What are the universities going to do? What are the government institutions going to do for people who work for them, whether you're in the armed forces or the public service or something like that? I just don't know. I don't know. It's suspended. How pissed off are people? Are people starting to see, like, I don't know barely anybody who has been like even thinks about this stuff a whole lot anymore because it's gone. It's gone from people's lives because it's not there. You know what I mean? It's not dangling in front of anybody. And we all have a right to be really pissed off with how bad things have been and how people have been treated. And I am one of those people that have been kicked in the nuts by these irresponsible mandates. And
Yeah.
sure, I want to speak out about those things, and I don't want to let the anger get the best of me at all. But I really want to understand what's going to happen next, but I still think that it's going to just be pain. We're going to go through a lot of pain here. It's because we have incompetent people that are driving this country. And it may even say they could also be nefarious people. They could be evil. I don't know. It's one or the other. And I don't think anybody has the true answers for that except for people who know these individuals. But it's not looking good either way. I still think we're going to see a winter of pain. The economics for Europe are showing that right now, especially with the price of energy going up in places like England and Europe. That's going to have a trickle-down effect everywhere. It's being reported by lots of different YouTube channels, the amount of people who are going to be shutting down their independent businesses, coffee shops, pubs, corner stores. I seen this one Twitter post of somebody who owned a shop in the UK. Their power bills have gone from $13,000 a month to like $35,000 a month. Like, what the hell is that? That's going to trickle down over here. It's going to hurt them first, even more than anything else, right? So,
yeah,
we have this little break in our energy prices here, but don't be fooled because electricity is going up and gas is still going up. But just because it doesn't show $2 at the pump right now doesn't mean it's not there or it can't go back, because it will.
Yeah, I think they jacked up the price and then just backed it off a little bit to, it's still more than it was. They're, they're treating us like the proverbial frog in a boiling pot of water. Turn up the heat and then they just back the heat off a little bit because it was too much.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
they'll turn it up again in a little while.
They will. Also, did you I think California is kind of a great way to picture how things are going to happen, because basically the Canadian government looks up at California and goes, "Oh wow, you're fighting climate change so wonderfully." So they're saying we're going to ban gas-powered vehicles by 2035, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the same week they're saying don't plug in your electric-powered vehicles.
Right.
Okay.
Look who it is.
Hey.
Hey guys. I made it.
You made it.
How are you?
I'm really good. How about you?
Well, we're okay. I'm okay. I think Brendan's okay.
You guys
doing
look
all right.
you look more than okay. You guys are looking good.
You too, man. You have like this new glow.
Yeah, I've taken the summer off of, all the drama, and social media and all that stuff, and just been chilling with the family and having a good old time.
Yeah, you've been working out, and it looks like, and getting in shape a bit too, maybe.
Thanks. I'm trying.
Yeah. Well,
I think
have you been working at all? Because you're a personal trainer, right?
yes,
So.
yes, working as much as I can handle. Hey
Mhm.
everyone, I can see the chats. Hi guys. Yeah, working as much as I can while still balancing, kids' activities and quality time and all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
Yeah, no, it's awesome actually.
Yeah.
My job is great, and my clients are amazing, and the family is awesome. I think I just heard a cat trying to attack me. Yeah.
And Brendan just kind of pointed out that it's been almost 1 year. Like a year ago, the three of us were involved in your campaign,
That's
right?
right.
Right?
A year ago.
A year ago.
The
That's so weird,
20th.
right?
Yeah, because for people who don't know, Liz ran for the People's Party in her riding of Chatham-Kent-Leamington and had an awesome result. I think it was the second or third best result.
Fourth, I
Fourth?
think.
No,
Yeah.
no, it was third at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
In
I'll
all
take
of Canada. Yeah.
All of Canada.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So pretty impressive result. Of course, nobody from the PPC got elected, but it was, I mean, really for a new party, you pretty much tied the NDP in the riding.
Yes.
So that was very impressive. Very impressive.
I think people, and now that it's been a year, we can really, kind of look back and reflect. And I think people don't understand the gravity of being a new party and trying to overcome that and get somewhere, get a place in politics, in the government, because really everyone's voting the either ors, right? The either
Yeah.
ors party and parties, and it's really hard to gain some ground. And not only that, we're battling against everything. We're battling against the media just trying to shut you out. I wasn't allowed to go to the debate, one of the debates. They're the main one for our community. Very bizarre that they would leave out only one candidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just things like that. It does affect. I don't think people understand how much it actually affects the result of the election, because it's not fair. It's not a fair election. If it was, then locally all the parties would get the same attention, right? They would get the same coverage and all of those things. But when you have media just trying to bury anybody who isn't in the mainstream, then it really gets tough, and it's a real challenge to overcome that and make any headway, make any ground. So I think that there's a lot to celebrate with the PPC.
Yeah. And if you ever want to do a case study on the political machine that and how bought out they are in Canada with the media, is you just need to take a do a Google search on Liz Valee for after September 20th of 2021. Like, because you caught COVID and they're like, oh, look at this dirty PPCer.
Yeah.
Filthy.
That to me at the time, I know it was stressful for my family. I know it was stressful for my husband, but because he doesn't like attention, he does not like to be in the spotlight at all, whereas I do. So I found it hilarious. I found it absolutely insane and hilarious that I would make the news for simply catching something that somebody gave to me, right? Like, it was just very, very bizarre, but I found it hilarious. And just all the media outlets that it was news for, and then you have a mix of reactions from people saying, why is this news? And then you have other people saying, oh, I hope she dies.
Yeah.
Just such bizarre behavior. I'd like to say that behavior has changed in the last year, but I just don't think that it has. I've that's why the break from social media for me is there are some things about humanity that I don't need to see if I'm going to keep fighting for all of you, not you guys specifically. I know the Maverick family is a huge loving family, and that's why, you know, we all like to stick together in that. But when you go out into the rest of the social media world, the Twitter, the Facebook, and all of that, it gets really hardcore and it gets really savage. And I don't find that useful. I don't want to see that side of people. I really don't.
You've literally battled the belly of the beast. So I mean, that's exhausting. So who could blame you for wanting to take a break?
Yeah.
Stressful, hard on your family.
Yes, it is. And I mean, they've been troopers. They've been amazing. And so I thought I owed it to them to give them the summer, give them their mama for the summer, and just not have to compete with anything. Because last year they lost that last half of the summer, right, where I was busy and campaigning and stuff like that. So I owed it to them.
I think Dave Chappelle summed this up perfectly, because like you were lambasted for catching COVID, right? But he was like, he said something about feeling dirty for catching it. And that's what the media was like. Oh, look how you're so dirty. You got COVID. You must have done something wrong.
Mm-hmm. You know, Brendan, you've touched on something very important there. It's very clear to me that what we've been dealing with here is a form of religion. In a secular society such as the one we're living in now, where God has basically been rejected by the government and they're replacing government with the state, the new oracles are these public health officials and doctors, where they say, follow the science. And those who don't get the thing in the arm, they're the sinners.
Yeah.
And and they do think of us, those of us who haven't been vaccinated, as being dirty. They really, truly do. I'm certain of it. And even when they make these mistakes, they go back to these oracles to get new guidance, new advice, new predictions of where things are going to go, even though they were wrong before. And they keep making the same mistakes over and over again because they just keep putting their faith in these modern day oracles, these public health officials and doctors. And we just keep going around in circles. And that's why we're heading into a fall and a winter, just as you say, that I think is looking kind of bleak.
Yeah, it's like that movie 300 where they bribe the oracle.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Sorry for the movie references. I like movies a lot.
You know, so. I love 300,
yeah.
So I'm all right with that. No, it's true. I keep thinking, you know, because I watch the Maverick news as much as I possibly can. So that's how I kind of stay up to date with things. I actually rely on it to stay up to date now. But as I watch things, you know, I keep going back to, in my mind, because we talk about freedom and free will and stuff like that. And the reason it's so important is because everything that we've been dealing with, especially in the last few years, involves risk. And whenever something involves risk, that's when the free will and the freedom is so important, because nobody has the right to force somebody into any kind of risk situation, because then if they're wrong, that's on them. That's their responsibility. So earlier I was thinking today, I was like, you know, if somebody forces you, they say, okay, well, it's mandated now, you have to get a vaccine. Well, now isn't their life, your life in their hands? Really? Like, if I were to tell somebody, you have to get a vaccine, then I should be taking the responsibility for that life. And if something happens to that life, that's on me. And I think we've lost sight of that.
Yeah.
I think we've lost sight as a society as we're going along. And everybody should have the right to assess their own risks and take it where they see appropriate. So some people are like, you know what? The last thing I want is that virus and to die from that virus. So I'm going to take the risks involved in a new experimental vaccine, and I'm going to take that because that's the last thing I want. So good for them. Good for them to make that decision. But for me, I didn't want to risk the side effects involved, because I feel for me that would be my luck. That would be what would happen to me, is I would have some nasty side effect from it. I do tend to react to everything that I take, any kind of medication, anything. So I didn't want to take that risk. And again, that should be up to the individual. Let's assess things, and really the chance of me ending up in the hospital or dying from COVID was like almost the closest you can get to zero, right? So, it's just everybody has to be able to assess their risks on all sides of all issues and make that decision for themselves. That's why we have free will.
Yeah.
Lori wants to know if you guys, I'm not looking for a job, but she wants to know if it's hindered your job search efforts. I don't think you guys are really looking for work now, because you have a new gig, I think, Brendan, right? And
Yeah.
you're working, so I guess maybe the question doesn't apply.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, like, number one, anything that's federally regulated, that's already hindered. Don't even bother. You know what I'm saying? And then so federally regulated, so that includes anything that involves like sailing, being on a Great Lakes freighter, Great Lakes cruise ships, that sort of stuff. Anything involving the train, so the train is a federally regulated industry, so that's going to cut out all of that. Anything involving airplanes, airports, that's federally regulated as well, so that is not an option. You don't even bother looking for a job with that, because you're not going to find one. They won't hire you. It's very easy for them to just say, oh, well, you don't have that. Well, that's too bad. So federally regulated. Any healthcare industry jobs, you're not going to get a job there either. Don't even bother trying. Ontario government, anything related to the Ontario government, you're not going to get a job in that. So, I mean, there's a lot of places I can't look for work or even aspire to work at, because a lot of those industries are like the highest paying industries that one can pursue, like a federal government job. A lot of people aspire to that for many years. It's very tough to get in. It's a huge selection process.
And, the protests still continue even now. People on the anti-freedom side sit there and say, well, what do you guys protest? Why are you still protesting? Everything's basically back to normal, but it really isn't. And you just pointed to a very important point, Brendan. There are a lot of jobs that are not available to people who are not vaccinated. Most corporate jobs, government jobs, the list goes on. So you're pretty much restricted to looking for work in the private sector and really small businesses.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm fortunate, right? Because I work for a small business. And so that hasn't hindered me at all. In fact, I've had people search me out because of my transparency. People know exactly who I am and exactly what I stand for. So I've had people search me out because they know that I'm going to be understanding and accepting of them no matter what side of the coin they're on. And they know I'm going to, look after them health wise. I'm very health oriented, and I look at things from a multifaceted point of view and not just one side. So because of the choices I've made, I feel that I've been searched out for that reason. So for me, it's worked out, but my industry is different. I'm a personal trainer. I'm working on getting people healthy, both physically and mentally. And man, like what I've seen my clients go through in the last couple of years, it really is special, and it really is important, because I know they've told me personally that they wouldn't have been able to make it through all of this if it wasn't for coming and making sure they stay on track, making sure they stay, like, keep their health going. And you can't always look to, I would say never, I would never look to the government or anybody else for my health, right? Like, I look at people who think more logically and freely, and with discretion. You not just taking everything word for word as it comes to you. Like, you should kind of criticize everything and then start making decisions from there. Like, every new thing that I see come out in my industry, I don't just accept it as gospel and then go with it. I look at it with a critical eye, and then I assess whether that's going to apply. And of course, I'm always the guinea pig for anything that I'm going to try in the fitness industry. But like I said, I had some people search me out because they knew that I was of like mind, and that I would actually look after their health instead of just following some kind of cookie cutter program or, health advice. So the private sector is where to go if, you're looking for that autonomy in many different ways. But it's unfortunate with what Brennan was talking about, because it's not just that those individuals lost their jobs and haven't had them back. That in itself is just absolutely disgusting and heartbreaking. But now look at what's happening with all of those industries, the health sector, all of those sectors are struggling now. They cannot find people, and they're like, we have emergency rooms closed. Maybe that didn't need to happen. If they would have kept those people and let them make their own personal choices and still keep their jobs, maybe emergency rooms didn't need to close down. Maybe people would have gotten the life-saving surgeries that they needed. But here we are, and it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And I don't even know how we're going to deal with it now, because I almost feel like they can't go and start taking everybody back, because then they have to admit that maybe they shouldn't have gotten rid of them in the first place. And then, that's a whole can of worms there. But we really could have avoided a lot of what's happening right now. Like, we're just starting to see the consequences of kicking all those people out of their jobs.
Yeah. And the stupidity continues. A relative of mine, I won't tell you who, but this person just went into the hospital for an operation. And this person said to me, I don't even have to get the swab up my nose to get tested, because I've been triple vaccinated. So they get to go into the hospital totally untested, and because they've had 3 jabs. And I'm thinking to myself, how does that protect anybody when we know that you can still get it and spread it? But if you haven't been vaccinated, even if you're not sick, you have to get tested. And I don't even know what the restrictions are in the hospitals right now for people who aren't vaccinated, but it made
It's
no
a
sense to me
nightmare.
whatever.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's about special privileges for people who comply, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see any science behind that.
I mean,
Yeah,
look at Joe Biden. He's a COVID magnet.
yeah. I don't know. You can't even say, they can't even, the words follow the science. Like, I don't even know how they can let that sentence come out of their mouth anymore, because there's so much that has been brought to light in the scientific community. So many doctors, scientists, biologists, immunologists, like all the gists, they have come out and given us so much updated information, which contradicts a lot of what we've been told and what maybe somebody like Justin Trudeau is trying to tell us now, right? And it's just bizarre to me to keep going down that road. I think honestly, if people still want to go out and get their boosters, by all means, at this point in time, they should be able to make that decision for themselves as well. However, I don't understand why there's still coercion, there's still propaganda, there's still this attitude of, we saw the video of what Trudeau said, right? We saw it. And that's.
Does anybody else I mean, this is not very much off topic, but does anybody else feel like COVID was just thrown in the back burner and the real thing that is going to be happening, the next big thing to take your freedom, is the green energy movement, so-called green energy movement? I think that's what they're going to be jumping onto now. I was listening to NPR today because I knew I was going to be on this show here. So I was like, well, let's listen to see what the liberals are talking about. They were doing a special on climate change and city parks. They were in some small town in Arizona where it's like desert. And they were going, oh, I'm at this park in Arizona and it's over 100 degrees. It's climate change. And I was like, yes, because you're in Arizona.
Everything is climate change right now, and it's hard to decipher what has actually kind of evolved as climate change. There is climate change. Climate changes, like, there's no doubt about that, but not everything is the sky is falling.
Yeah.
There's been extreme weather for as long as that there's been an earth, right?
Anybody ever hear of Noah's Ark?
Like,
There was a pretty big flood back then, and there was a big one.
Well, how can anybody not look at the Great Lakes in Canada and in the United States? When I look at the Great Lakes, I see a geological miracle that took place. So the Great Lakes, which is Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, Ontario, and Erie, they were carved out of the earth 10,000 years ago by the last ice age from receding glaciers. 10,000 years ago. That's not that long ago in the span of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to tell me that I'm the problem? Like there's been crazier things that have happened, and they'll happen again, and they'll happen again and again and again and again and again.
Well, it all goes in cycles. During the first lockdown of COVID, I actually took the kids for a field trip out to Erie, and I wanted to teach them something about the history of Erie. And what I found out was, is just a little over 100 years ago, the land between Erie and Rondo was actually 6 islands. It wasn't just land. It was actually 6 islands. So I think about that, and I think about the erosion that has gone on, and some of the flooding along, Erie Drive and things like that. And it's like, well, maybe if we actually looked at what things were like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, that might have given us a hint as to what could happen to that land, as things go through their cycles. So
Well, this ideology has captured everything. You can't put on any commercials without seeing, buy this special brand of Tide. You'll lower your carbon footprint. Like this ideology has won. It's gone mainstream, which back in my day, when anytime anything went mainstream, it wasn't cool anymore. It's like when your dad tries to mimic you.
What does that do for people? I mean, it waters down it down so much that people get sick of hearing it, and then they don't want to deal with it at all, right?
Yeah.
And so I love nature. I love the earth. I think that we definitely could do a better job of taking care of our earth. But I don't want it to be based on a lie. I don't want it to be based on propaganda. I don't want it to be based on something that we don't have control over.
And I don't.
That we could do a better job of keeping our earth clean. I think that we could do a better job of innovation and making things better for the planet. But I don't think that we need to punish people who have no control over certain things that have to do with the earth and the climate.
We don't need to punish the middle class. This is what we're doing.
Yes.
This is what we're doing.
Yes. Because if we really cared, let's be honest, let's ground all the private jets. Let's ground most of the planes. Right?
Yeah.
But we can't do that. Trudeau needs his 2 private jets to get around anywhere, So it's just, there's so much hypocrisy. I could get on board more with what they're saying if they didn't all fly to Davos on their private jets to talk about climate change.
They could have just watched it on YouTube,
right?
Like we did,
right? So it's just, and so I think when you see all this hypocrisy happening, what ends up happening is people just get sick of hearing it, especially the middle class, right? It's like they're out there working their asses off just to get by. And then you've got somebody saying, well, your truck is dirty, and you can't use that farm truck anymore because it's dirty and you're polluting the earth. Now I'll be right back. I gotta take my private jet to 200 kilometers away. Like seriously, it's bizarro world, and people are sick of it. Especially the hardworking people all around the world.
I think the bottom line is they are lying to us. They're exaggerating a lot of things. They're skewing the truth. They tell you half truths. They tell you a little bit of truth and then wrap it up in a lie. And then they politicize it and they use it and manipulate us in ways that they can profit from it.
And they are profiting from it.
Yeah, and it's about power as well. We're seeing international agreements where they're using climate change and environmental issues as an excuse to shut down oil production, mining, forestry. We're seeing that in Alberta right now. We're seeing in Ontario, actually, a face-off between the provincial government and First Nations in some areas that are now involved in this new initiative. It's actually a new approach to conserving some parklands and new conservation areas and expanding conservation areas, where they're trying to give the governance, the power of governance federally to First Nations peoples, but it runs against the jurisdiction of provinces. So now provinces are running into jurisdictional conflicts with First Nations peoples over these issues, and it's very much, it's all being done under the umbrella of environmentalism and climate change and conservation. But if you really look at it, it's about power and money and mining rights, and there are these international agreements, and we can probably dig into that further in another episode, but it is not what it appears to be. It's looking like this on the surface, but really it's about controlling the wealth, and I think suppressing the wealth so that international interests, other governments around the world can sell us their oil and sell us their minerals, their lithium, their cobalt, their nickel, their gold, all of these things. When we have everything we need right here, we're just not allowed to use it. But that's a whole other issue.
Even look at the language, folks. Like, when did we stop calling a swamp, and now it's no longer, you can't call it a swamp anymore. It's now a wetland. If you go to any park in your neighborhood or anywhere that there's a river, they're always going to call it a wetland.
Well, I'm with you, Liz. I'm all for conservation, and nobody wants to pollute our environment. We all want a clean, healthy environment to pass on to our kids and our grandkids and future generations. But it has to be based on truth and real science and real conservation efforts. And I have a real hard time with this whole idea that it's carbon dioxide that's the real problem, because I exhale carbon dioxide and I don't think it's toxic. I'm more concerned about, I don't know, isocyanates and benzene and things that cause cancer.
Some Aaron Brockovich stuff,
Yeah. But
all the ways that they mess with our food.
Yeah. And not just crickets.
And see how we're talking now, not just about, and we're here tonight to talk really about the convoy, the Freedom Convoy, but you see how this is already veered off into all of these other issues, because it isn't just about the mandates. It never is just about the mandates. It's about this whole, well, at the core of it, it's about freedom.
Yeah.
It's about the way we're being governed.
And that encompasses everything, doesn't it? Like that is what I try to tell people in my campaign when I was campaigning, that without freedom, we have nothing. And it is absolutely true, because it is all encompassing. If you don't have freedom, then you can't do anything. You can't even talk about climate change. Even if the citizens were the only ones talking about it, it wouldn't matter anymore. If you don't have freedom, you can't go and express your displeasure with the government. You can't have a debate about anything, because there's no point, because you're just controlled anyways. So you have to be able to debate. You have to be able to have discussions. It can't just be one way. It can't be. And I've gone through this whole process, and even starting a little bit before COVID, but my mind has been changed on things. There have been things that I thought I had an opinion that leaned one way, and by sitting down and having an actual conversation with people, or something like this, or even online and that kind of thing, and having a civil debate over it, even if I didn't come out completely agreeing with that person, I saw a different perspective, and I have changed my mind. And this, what you're pulling up right now, the reason why people were there was because they were able to see it as a big picture and not just one thing. I mean, let's be real. I haven't traveled. Even though I can travel domestically, I haven't done that yet, because it wasn't about that for me. It was everything that we just kind of talked about just now. It's all encompassing. And if we don't get to say something and have a voice without being told that we have unacceptable views, right? That is unacceptable in itself, because Canadians should be able to go and say, I am not happy with what is going on right now, and things need to change. And it doesn't have to be everybody agrees with you. It doesn't have to be 95% of Canadians feel the exact same way as you. Why is it that all of a sudden, because the people who were in the freedom convoy and fighting for freedom, and that we were depicted as the fringe minority, the 10% or whatever, but why is it that percentage of people suddenly don't matter? When have we treated people like that before? Well, in my generation anyways. So people have been treated like that throughout history, and we look back on that and say that's disgusting. Everybody matters. And the reason why we have a Western civilization is because we value freedom. So just because, even if 1% of people sit there and go, you know what, I don't think that our flag should have red on it anymore. I think we should consider blue. Well, maybe we could take a second and go, do they have a point? But we shouldn't call them unacceptable and a fringe minority, and they're wrong, right? You can actually sit and listen to somebody that doesn't agree with you. And you can say, you know what? You seem to feel strongly about this. Let's have a discussion about it, because maybe you might have a point.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here. That's what happened here in Ottawa and Windsor and Alberta, is people were saying, whoa, hey, there's something wrong here, right? There's something wrong, guys. We're trying to warn you. This is really, really bad.
Right. Well, let's let some of this roll. Might bring back some memories and give you some inspiration for some other things to talk about tonight. He's just had the opportunity to be the worst that could possibly be. But as you can see tonight, this is what's going on in Ottawa, in spite of the politicians leveling basically threats at the people. And labeling all of these people racist terrorists. Okay, so there you have it, folks. This is Vets for Freedom. They're a bunch of racists. There's a couple of misogynists over there, I guess, and
Every child matters.
Yeah.
That's racist.
There's a big fat bigot, and over to the right. Oh yeah, there's a toothless redneck, and just pan a little over. Yeah, what do we have there? Oh yeah, all racists. Yep, all of them. That's what Justin Trudeau says.
We saw on the sign over there, God keep our land. That's racist. Can't have that. This is what the cops are going to go break up.
Look at that racist Canadian flag.
Flags.
That's pretty a racist thing to do.
Wow.
And yeah, they want their freedom, which is, that's a dead giveaway right there. Anybody that wants freedom, definitely a terrorist. Selfish. So beware. You need to be very, very, very afraid of all these people. These, I don't know, pseudo-Canadians, I guess. I don't know, man. A lot of red and white flying around there and a lot of maple leaves.
There's and you forgot to mention they're also funded by the United States of America.
Oh, right. Well, not anymore, because and Russia. They say that they've been able to freeze those funds from Give, Send, Go. So first they managed to get all the funds frozen from the GoFundMe, $10 million approximately, about 9. I think $1 million was released.
Yeah.
And now they've frozen the funds again, this time from Give, Send, Go. Of course, Give, Send, Go is telling them to go pound sand, telling them that they're going to release the money anyway, because the Canadian government has no authority over how they conduct their business as a U.S. company. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Well, they had tweeted yesterday, and this is what they had wrote yesterday. Know this: Canada has absolutely zero jurisdiction over how we manage our funds here at Give, Send, Go. All funds for every campaign on Give, Send, Go flow directly to the recipients of those campaigns, not least of which is the Freedom Convoy campaign.
You know, I just, I don't know what the country has come to. It's just, it blows my mind. So, Liz, we came off that election. Leaders talk about. Then we came into the fall. Then this all started to happen. What was it that people you're looking at right here made you want to go to Ottawa? Because you did go. You know, these cops, I don't think they want to be there doing. Oh, I think your mic is muted. Have to be doing. Yeah, they've been great.
Sorry, I did go, and the reason I wanted to go was I could tell it was going to be huge. I could tell that it was going to be history in the making. So, I wanted to be part of doing something to stand up for Canadians and, you know, to actually send a message saying that there are Canadians that care about their rights and their freedoms, and we're willing to fight for them. And we're going to say something. We're not just going to roll over. And I wanted to be part of history, and I wanted my children to see for themselves this momentous part of our Canadian history. There is some people who didn't, you know, agree with the convoy. There are some people who had negative things to say about the convoy. But 100 years from now, when people look back on this, they're going to be like, wow, those people were amazing. Those people were beautiful. They were. Look at them. Look at what's going on there. So much love. When you were there in person, I've never experienced something like that in my life. There was so much love. There was so much beauty and peace, and it was so much fun. Everybody was so positive. Everybody was so loving. Also, the streets had never been cleaner. I mean, they did have difficulty with the garbage cans because nobody was coming to take the garbage away. But all of the people there were doing everything they could to clean up the streets. The sidewalks were shoveled by the people, not by the city. And they were feeding homeless people. They were feeding each other. They were like, everybody was helping everybody. And there was no violence. There was no negativity. There was no fights. Even when I've been to concerts, like there's always a fight or something. You go to the bar, there's always a fight. Here, no way. It was all peace and love. And I think it was almost like, it's like peace and love on steroids, because people just wanted to show so badly that that's what it was all about. It was all about going back to the time where we took care of each other, you know, and that we, you know, united and just loved each other and accepted each other no matter what. And everybody there, they don't agree with each other on everything. They all want their freedom. They all want their rights. But all the little things, they don't agree 100%. All of those people do not agree 100% with each other. There are things that there are, you know, differences of, but nobody cares. Nobody cared, because we were all there together in peace and love, coming together for one thing. And everybody was willing to fight for it for others who maybe didn't quite see why it was so important at the time.
And then what about you, Brendan? What was motivating you when all of this began?
Well, the mandates were a big kick in the nuts for me. I don't really have a nicer way of putting that, but that's really what it was. A big part of doing work with the Liz Valee campaign and stuff like that was me wanting to have my part in making sure that I know I could go to sleep at night, that I contributed and I helped say no. After the election, the federal Canadian election last year, and after I'd lost my job, my previous job with the mandates, I was just so down. Like, you ever have those days you just can't get out of bed? You're just like, ugh. It's like your soul has 1,000 pounds of weight on it and you can't get up. I just felt like that all the time. And I started hearing rumblings about truckers coming. And I'm like, they're not going to do anything anyway. Nobody cares. But I mean, I saw the momentum that it was pulling up and I saw how things were progressing with it. And, we talked a little bit about possibly going to Ottawa. And I said, well, I mean, we don't even need to go to Ottawa. We knew Liz Valee was going there. And so we rang you up and you helped us with some footage and analysis and that sort of thing. And before we knew it, we had like over 5 people that we personally knew amongst us that were going to be there. Dawn, your friend there, Dawn, she was
My
another
cousin.
one. Yeah,
My
your
cousin.
cousin. I was going to say cousin. I was like, I don't know if I should say
she's
that.
my cousin.
Dawn, your cousin, she's another example of that. It's like by the time we tallied it up, we had enough people that we knew that were going there. We didn't even need to be in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
And the CBC did exactly what we said they were going to do. The media establishment all did what they said they were going to do. And that's why I wanted to do this, is because I wanted to tell my version of the truth, because there was nothing else out there but what was happening in Ottawa representing my version of the truth.
Yeah. The media, constant lies. We ran that live footage, tons of live streams coming from there. Liz, you were there firsthand. You saw what was going on. Then I would go over like everybody else and watch what CBC, Global, CTV, all the mainstream media, what they would run. And it was like they were telling people not to believe their own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
No, these were supposed to be dangerous domestic terrorists. These were racists. They were violent. They were harassing people. They were defecating on the War Memorial. They were desecrating the Terry Fox Memorial. And they were lying. There was just outright lies and exaggerations. And I still believe that guy with the Nazi flag had to be a plant, was definitely not part of the freedom group or the convoy or the movement down there. Everybody that I saw was telling the guy to get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were.
My favorite was that Terry Fox statue.
Yeah.
Because he was making a face that seemed to show exactly how I was feeling. Like he's just like nonstop running and you're exhausted, and he has a sign in his hand that says "Mandate Freedom." It's like, that is exactly how I feel.
And they desecrated the Terry Fox Memorial by putting a Canadian flag on him.
Yep.
In a way that I actually saw Terry Fox wear a flag like that when he was running at one point. I didn't see it as desecration at all. When all of that was going down, it showed me again how the mainstream media is so effective in controlling the narrative, and how we on the freedom side are so easily manipulated ourselves, and we allow them to control the narrative instead of pushing back against it. So many people are like, oh gee, did we do something wrong? Sorry about that, because it's very Canadian, right? Gee, sorry, when in fact I don't really believe they did anything wrong at all.
If they
and
were
every
to,
time that something came up, like I felt like the whole freedom movement, the whole freedom convoy just kind of went with the flow, right? They said, stop honking your horns. Okay, we'll stop honking our horns. Right? And like, it's so funny. Like, it's so funny how nice we are. And we're so nice. And you know what? You say that we're easily manipulated. And I agree, but at the same time, I think it's more maybe a little naive. I think we're a little naive because we don't think the way that, some of the nefarious people out there think. We don't think that people are so evil and bad that they're going to actually do some of the things that they do to us, right? So, yes, we get taken by surprise a lot. And it's hard to keep up, let alone try to get ahead of what's going on. It's so hard to try and get ahead because now you got to try to think like them, and we don't think like them. We think about, love and peace and all of that stuff, right? And we just want, at the end of the day, we all just want to live our lives and be left alone.
well, unfortunately, me, Rick, and Liz, and the people out there watching, we're the minority of individuals. And we'll always be the minority of individuals.
Yep.
We are the same type of individuals that the Catholic Church burned at the stake. We are like...
Don't give them any ideas, Brendan. Jeez, they've gone this far. You never know we know what they're capable of.
Well, you get my point, though. We're the critical thinkers. We're the outside of the box people. That we're not. I guess Hunter S. Thompson put it very lavishly in his book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's too rare to die and too sick to live, or something like that. I don't know. I forget that. But let me just put, like, we're the minority of people. People follow. That's what they do.
Yeah, all throughout history, right? All throughout history. And when freedom has prevailed, it's because a minority of a few people come together and fight like hell and take it back, right? And that's what it takes. And it changes, it evolves throughout history. We are in a huge evolution right now because it'll never look like the way it did throughout history because of technology, because of it's now a psychological war. You guys have mentioned that numerous times, right?
Yeah.
They're messing with our brains. They're messing with our spirits. And that's where it gets really, really tough because they're not coming to my house and shooting me in the face.
Oh,
right?
They've been to your house, though.
They've been to my house, though. But then they also, they came to my house when they could have just dealt with me at the location, but they came to my house and then wanted sympathy because they came to my house. And it's like, that's the mind tricks, right? It's like, well, like, why are you getting mad at me and videoing me? I was just doing my job. It's like, well, come to find out later, you had a choice. And you didn't have to come. You could have had somebody else do it. You could have said no, but they all accepted that, you know, those involved accepted that they were going to have to give out some tickets, and they were like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Right.
Right.
So
just so people are aware, because I don't think we were clear in that telling that story, that Liz was involved in a protest, and after the protest, they came to her house. A police officer came to issue the ticket at her home, because the protest was held at a time when there were still mandates in effect, which were restricting outdoor gathering sizes, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, they wanted us to put on masks and social distance outside. And, you know, they asked me to go and tell everybody to do that. And I said, I don't tell people what to do. I can let them know that you asked, but I don't dictate what people do. They'll do what they're going to do. And anyways, so yeah, we were out there just practicing our right to protest. And of course, I said I was the one that organized it and all of that stuff, because I was the one that was willing to take that risk. I didn't want anybody else to take that risk. And then I got the ticket, and it's been to court, and I have a fine now that I have to pay. So, you know,
You should have watched more Hogan's Heroes, because when they asked you all those questions, you could have been, I know nothing and I see nothing. I didn't even get out of bed today.
so yeah, you know, we knew, Rick and I knew what was going to happen back then. We knew. Everybody said, oh, you know, your ticket will get dropped and blah, blah, blah. But I watched this show, and sometimes when I can, I'll go and look at the comments, maybe comment when I can. And I've seen in the last little while people really criticize you, Rick, about well, like, you know, the comments are, well, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to just do nothing. We're supposed to just sit here. And, you know, I think about how I've spent my summer, and I think what people need to realize, what Rick's trying to tell you, he's trying to just give you some advice. He's just trying to keep you from, like he said, going out in no man's land for no reason, right? If you're going to do something, you're going to stand up, you're going to take action, make it worthwhile, make it so that something comes of it. You know, there's a time and a place. And so we don't really want you just going out there, getting a ticket, getting arrested, getting thrown in jail, and then nothing happens. Like, it's in vain. You know what I mean? We don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah.
We need to stand up together as people, and it's okay to bide your time. It's okay to wait for the opportunity to come. And we have a battle coming up. It's coming. Don't just go out there and get yourself in trouble for no reason. We gotta make it mean something. We gotta make change. So, you know, Tamara Litch, you know, she's a hero. She actually has made a difference. She's made a difference. And yes, things are slow. And yes, it's frustrating. I've wanted to go out there and just start like pounding heads. Let me tell you, like, I just want to go out there and just start, you know, throwing down. I do. But what's that going to do? I'm going to end up in jail away from my kids. No way. No way. No, it's got to be worthwhile. So we have, you know, and I don't know what that means. I don't know what the answer is. Don't look to Rick for the answer of that question. Rick, what he's doing is he's providing you with the news. He's providing you with the information. He's providing you with updates on what the freedom movement is doing, what everybody else is doing. But, you know, we can't just keep going off into no man's land and trying all these crazy stunts, trying to arrest police officers. That's nuts. Don't get yourself in trouble, and then nothing comes of it. And if anything, they start clamping down harder on, you know, the freedom fighters, the freedom movement, the people involved, they start
Yeah.
clamping down
Can I
hard.
elaborate on that a little bit?
Go ahead.
Yesterday was Labor Day, and I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to. If there is a time and a place for everything. When the Freedom Convoy was happening, and then you had the blockade or the demonstration, whatever you want to call it, in Windsor, and then there was the one in Coots, right?
Yep.
Out in Alberta. The government came out and they said, "Oh well, they shouldn't be blocking borders and they shouldn't be, doing anything illegal." Well, there's a long history in Canada and a lot of precedents set on demonstrations where there have been blockades.
Mhm.
And yesterday was Labor Day. And if you go back and you look through history, and I'll just even look at this in 1945, the Ford strike. Back in 1945, and I'll just bring this up, Ford was trying to break the union. It was a different time. And what happened? The unions staged, well, they walked off the job, right? They walked off the job. And what did it climax to? Thousands of cars, not just hundreds. I think they had thousands, and they blocked access to the factory. A lot of the cars were even stolen. So the labor movement has a long history of engaging in things that sometimes aren't even really lawful. But there was a time and a place to take a stand, and because back then the government took a stand against the unions, and they backed up the company. They backed up Ford by bringing in police officers, and they used the cops as muscle against the union, and the union pushed back. And how did they push back? By blocking access to the factory, which you could argue is unlawful, and stealing cars isn't exactly a legal thing to do, but they did it, and today they admit that they did that. That's just one example. I had personally, years ago, covered blockades at the Windsor-Detroit border, blockades at the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel and the Ambassador Bridge with truckers. Wayne Whitney, look up the name. You go back. It's happened on more than one occasion where the border was completely shut down by truckers. And back then, when I was covering it, it was over free trade. That was the issue, and the way it was affecting truckers and independent drivers and so on. But they blocked that bridge. They shut it right down hard. And it was costing industry millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions a day. There's a long history of it. Did it make a difference then? I don't know that it actually did result in much change, but they certainly had them by the short and curlies for a while. This one here in 45 made a difference, but there was a time and a place for it. Regardless of what the government says about, you shouldn't be blocking the border and you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. And that whole Freedom Convoy thing, that was completely illegal. That was an illegal thing. Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes there's a time and a place for things. This is an example. It's not like it's never happened before. And I'm not saying that there isn't a time and a place. There certainly is. And sometimes you just got to go against the grain a little bit, right?
Yep.
But don't be stupid about it. Be smart and be careful who you follow, and make sure that you're engaging in activity that's going to lead to a good outcome, a proper outcome. You understand what I'm saying, right? I hope people do. I hope they understand what I'm saying.
Well, it's too easy to look up and be like, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't think of anything to do, so therefore I do anything. Or
right.
We're almost in a point where not any leader will do the job. I mean, individuals like George Washington and these other great leaders, These are once in a lifetime individuals. Well, once in a generation. You got to be careful who you're going to fall for. That'd be like I don't believe half of anything anyone says.
Part of the problem is back in 45, even back in the 80s and the 90s, you had some political forces. You had the unions sort of on the civil liberties side. But I'll tell you, today, I think the unions have abandoned the workers. The NDP has abandoned the workers. They no longer represent workers. The Liberals, they're not there at all. The Conservatives, all they're worried about, you go back and check what they said during the convoy. They're worried about profits for the big corporations. They want to keep the economy rolling, but they don't give a monkey's fart. I know Lori likes that phrase. They don't give a monkey's fart about the middle class people. They don't care about the workers. They don't care about the average Canadian. They just want to keep the economy rolling. They didn't care about locking everything down when they wanted to lock it down. But then when the Freedom Convoy came along, oh, well, you know, you can't be damaging the economy that way. These truckers are just costing everybody money, and they're putting people's jobs in jeopardy. Oh, really? I don't think it was the truckers who had the entire country and the economy shut down for I don't know how long we went through that, but
still are
you know,
to some degree.
it's just we've lost. There was no political representation for the average person through all of this, other than like the PPC, really, and we didn't get anybody elected, so no representation in Ottawa. And so we're slowly trying to fight back, but that was the reality, man. The average person, the middle class, we have no representation.
Yeah. But
anymore.
what's hilarious is we have an over representation of the woke agenda, which is crazy.
And I think people think that the woke agenda represents the interests of society as a whole and the middle class. In reality, it's an assault on the middle class.
Yeah. The family unit.
And just the person who goes to work every day, they tax the living crap out of you, and they hammer on people who own small businesses, and it's all pro corporation. Just look at, every corporation is woke now, and they all feed at the public trough. But we're going down a different road again, getting a little off topic. Let's go back to this clip of Dawn, because she did contribute, and we should just give her a little recognition here, I think, tonight too. Let me just bring that back up. Just let a little bit of that roll. Here it is.
I have a little bit of trouble hearing you because it's getting kind of noisy down here, but
Yes.
I'm here. The crowd is really growing, and then we found a honker.
She was in Windsor, I believe.
This is Diesel. Let me see. Oh, no. Can you see Diesel? She
I
was
forgot all about that.
She was the welcoming. There she is. So she was the welcoming crew when we arrived here in Windsor. I don't know. Can I turn my camera around?
Yes, you can. Yes.
All right. Oh, that's not what I want to do.
You might have to flip
I don't
it
know
around.
how to do that. I think I'm just going to turn my camera, and I'll show you this. I'll just do kind of a 360. So just to give everybody a basis of where we are, there's the McDonald's that everybody recognizes at the corner of Huron Church and College.
Yep.
And then we've got a nice crowd joining us. Lots and lots and lots of media. And basically everybody's just down here visiting and talking and enjoying being free. So we'll see. They say 7 o'clock. I don't know whether we've not seen anything yet. We have heard that that when the RCMP when the RCMP show up, then all of the OPP and the other officers from other police detachments will then leave. So I don't know how true that is, but that's what we've heard.
So that was Don down at the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor, because the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa was inspiring people all over the world. So we saw more protests start to evolve and happen all over Canada and then even in other countries.
I gotta say, I forgot all about that. The goose, that was great.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make a comment about the beginning of the Freedom Convoy. So I do notice, you know, and I have a lot of people who don't agree with me make comments to me about us, again, being the fringe minority and all of those things. But sometimes I think that those people don't actually really talk to people. And I do a lot of talking. I talk to a lot of people, like face to face, in person, because that's what I prefer. Or some people call me on the phone and whatever. But there's a weird, and it's been happening for decades now, there's a weird left shift going on in Canada. And that is why there's this weird attitude in Canada. And so when they talk about woke ideas and things like that, it all sounds really good. It all sounds appealing, right? It sounds nice. It sounds kind. But when that Freedom Convoy first started and everybody was getting in their trucks, loading up and getting ready to go, almost every single overpass was filled with people waving their Canada flags and cheering. So not only was there a massive amount of people on the road on their way to Ottawa, but there was also almost every single overpass just packed with people celebrating, cheering them on, and let's go, let's go, let's go. Yay, you know, finally, right? It was like a big sigh of relief that something was happening, finally, right? People didn't want to say it out loud until then. Then they showed up. But then everything changed, right? The media got a hold of it and changed the narrative once again, twisted things around, and then everybody just fell silent again. It was like a punch in the gut, right? Everybody was excited. They're like, yes, you know, things are going to get better. Things are going to change. And then boom, punch in the gut. And that's when so if we go back to kind of my comments earlier about, you know, the influence on people and people being afraid to speak up and all of those things, it comes from that. All of a sudden, the narrative changes and they're like, oh, I don't want to be viewed as a misogynist. I don't want to be viewed as a racist. So I'm going to be quiet now. Right. And that is the unfortunate part of all of that. And that comes into, you know, us being so nice and being that little bit of naive, because if you're not there experiencing it and you're watching the CTV, it's very easy to believe that there was people holding Nazi flags there. And then all of a sudden you're being affiliated with that thought, right? And it just, it tears that momentum down, and people become afraid again to speak up and voice their concerns and voice their opinions out loud, because then somebody might say, well, you must be one of those Freedom Convoy people and you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're this, you're that. And it's very bizarre how that can be twisted and changed all of the time. Every time we start to gain momentum, that gets twisted, and then it's like a punch in the gut and we fall again. And that's our niceness, right? Our niceness to not want to make people mad and upset.
It shows the power of the media. When this started, you're absolutely right, Liz. It was like, it felt to me like it was the same kind of energy and spirit that I remember from the Summit hockey series back in the early 70s when Canada was going up against Russia and there was all this national pride. It felt the same. I felt the same kind of energy that was present when Terry Fox was running across the country. People were proud to be Canadian and they loved the flag and they were embracing being Canadian. All the positive energy that came from that. But then you're right, the media got involved and they told people, oh no, we don't think like that anymore. We're supposed to be ashamed of our country. Don't you forget. Didn't you? You've forgotten that we're not proud of Canada anymore. We don't wave the flag. And if you support these truckers, you're a racist. You're a misogynist. You're a this-ist and you're a that-ist. Because we don't believe in nationalism anymore. We don't believe in Canada. No. We don't do it this way anymore. So stop it. You all stop that right now. That's really what was going on.
I think Tucker Carlson called the Canadian Trucker Convoy the biggest human rights movement in a generation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very fitting. And when you look at so many human rights movements that are occurring in Canada and in the United States right now, and you pay attention to how the media portrays those protests and what have you, this was the only protest, as well as the United States Freedom Convoy that they had going on. Those were the only protests where the media was like, no, that's no good. You're garbage.
Mm-hmm.
You're racist, this, that, and the other thing.
Well, it was so cool, amazing. It was amazing to see when the Dutch farmers started to protest, and they had all those Canada flags out there. So that just shows you how, and I saw interviews with Dutch farmers saying we were inspired by Canada, and we don't realize how much of an influence and inspiration we had on other countries, but we did. They were waving our flag. It was so cool to see that. And so when I said earlier that we have a fight coming to us, that's going to be part of it. It's how our farmers are going to be affected very soon, just like the Dutch farmers. And beyond that, I mean, the words that Trudeau spoke a few days ago, that was that's kind of scary. Very scary. I shouldn't say kind of, because to me, I'm freaking out a little bit. I don't want to have to pull my kids out of sports.
Yeah.
It's going to be devastating. My kids need those sports. They need them because they're very active kids and they need, that competitiveness. They need that drive to propel themselves forward. They want to strive for that. And if they don't have that, there's going to be a big gaping hole in their lives. And so then I have to figure out how I'm going to fill that time in the same meaningful way as what their sports. They play team sports, right? How are we going to do that if they take it away from the kids again?
Yeah. Let's let a little of this roll. There. That's better.
Oh, you don't want people's chests? You want to see their faces?
Yeah,
So
a little less sidewalk. This is Carla.
The signs, like every single day I come up here, there's more and more signs, new signs. I'm always finding new ones. I think what happens is protesters come, and then when they leave, they just leave their sign.
That's amazing.
Right? I did find 2 counter protester signs, but then I found them once, and then I walked past 2 more times, and I think I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of signs. I haven't seen it again.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
it
very
is.
cool.
I love it. I think these should stay forever.
Mass psychosis media. I love that. That's great.
Yeah. I noticed that the tone has changed. I'm not seeing as many F Trudeaus.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, well, I mean, as much as this movement has been signified by the whole F Trudeau thing, it is vulgar and it does
Correct.
paint things in kind of a negative light. But I mean, this is a guy who was complicit in locking people down in their homes for over 2 years, stripping away people's charter rights and the whole 9 yards. So what the hell was he expecting?
Well, I mean, I know. This is probably my favorite wall. This one. I don't know if it's the big love you that I'm into, but oh, this is good. Yeah, yet you called me a fringe sexist, racist, supremacist, majority, minority, sweetie. WTF. Couple of flags. Can you see those?
No.
You know,
Yeah.
this is the thing too, Carla. Like, you're showing people what is really down there. Well, the media keeps telling everyone that there are racist symbols down there.
There's none. I mean,
Yeah.
unless Justin Trudeau thinks that his citizens telling him to go F himself is racist. I mean, that's hardly racist. Disrespectful, rude, maybe a bit vulgar. Yes. Racist? No. He needs a dictionary.
And there isn't anything in the charter that says you can't be rude.
No.
Just
Look
because
at these jerry cans, guys. Can you see these?
Holy guacamole.
I'm going to go touch them with my toe and see if they're empty, okay? Yeah, they are. So this is symbolism, right? Right here.
Yes. Yep.
So quiet up here, right? Without the horns honking.
Yeah, I kind of miss it.
I don't know why this car is still here. I think the guy's been staying in the car. He's a really cool little Rasta guy. He dances to Bob Marley like no other. But his car's been parked here for several days.
Just pan up a little bit. Up. There
Yep.
we go.
Yeah, he just
Thanks.
parked there and just stayed there. I don't know. It's his home. Pretty good crowd over here. This is where the good food is over there.
And pan up a little bit. Up a little bit.
How tall do you think I am, Rick?
Oh, no, you maybe got to angle the camera a little different. I'm not sure.
Here, let me see if I can
Yeah,
do
just
that.
angle
There
it
you
up.
go. Yeah.
That's right.
There you go.
You know what the problem was? It was in my bag. I think it flipped. How's that? Is that
That's
good?
way better. Yep, that's way
Wow,
better.
that was the problem. I had a technical issue. See, I need you guys.
Well, we
guys
need
here with
you.
me.
And yeah, people love you.
Like, look
Tell
at
you that.
this. Look at this. Like, this is a restaurant, truly, for free. For free. They're giving it in love. They were peeling potatoes on potatoes today.
We haven't heard any of that from the media. None of that.
Oh no, of course you're not. And then this, you see that black? It's an ice fishing hut, right? So they've got that set up as a warming center, and they said it's like a sauna. Like going in there, it's just like being in a sauna. So, and I was saying, oh, they were telling me to have some food. I said, I gotta go back and warm up. And they're like, no, get in the tent, man. That's what it's there for. Like, how awesome! Little fire.
So let's see if we can dispel some myths here.
Okay.
Last night at the emergency debate in our parliament, for you Americans out there, that is like our Capitol building, they were having debates and speeches about what we should do about this. Now, there were some liberal MPs who were saying, we have employees in our offices who are Muslim or what have you, and they're too afraid to go out on the street and to come into work, and that they called in sick.
I've seen, I can't confirm or deny that, but what I can tell you is that I have 100% seen federal employees coming out of the House of Commons, out of different federal buildings. You can identify them by their tags. You know, I don't know if I've seen a reduction though. Like I can't confirm or deny that, right? Because I don't know what I would expect to see.
Well, they usually have Parliament offices like around Ottawa, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So
Like there's an awful lot of office people wearing like lanyards walking around and masks. So I'm pretty sure coming from that area, I'm pretty sure that's where they're from.
Well, the media scared the crap out of a lot of people by lying to them. We know that. That was for sure.
and the politicians too.
Yes. Yes.
I think I just talked about it. A good example of that. How much of what they were talking about was even true. They get one phone call from somebody, and oh well, that's weighted evidence in Parliament. Meanwhile, if that's some of these statements that these MPs have made in the House of Commons wouldn't even hold up to in the court of law, like at all.
You know, the municipality should have been thanking the truckers. They put on the single most successful winter festival in Ottawa history. They brought tourists to town. They provided all of the entertainment for free. They fed the masses for free. Other people, they filled up all the hotels. They injected economic life into the downtown after the pandemic. And what did the municipality do? All they did was complain. They're never satisfied.
Oh, I could think of a couple of woke things that they'd be really satisfied with if they took over their downtown, but that's neither here nor there.
What did it not, Liz, inject some economic life back into the core of Ottawa?
Well, yeah, and if you go to Ottawa now, it's kind of, it's slow, it's sad, it's
it is so sad. I really wanted to point out when Carla was walking in front of Parliament Hill, it don't look like that no more.
no. And I mean, you can't expect it to always look like that, but through the summer, it should be hopping.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not. Same with Toronto. I don't know if you guys have been. Well, Rick, you go to Toronto quite often.
Yep.
Downtown, it used to be when I would be there in the summertime, and you're walking downtown, you're shoulder to shoulder with people, right? There's people everywhere walking around, place to place, and it's just not like that now. It's slower. It's a little creepy, really, because it's not the same. I mean, I never liked that scene, to be honest. I like going places where there's not so many people usually. That's my thing. But, you know, it's nice to see a booming economy, and every city in their downtown should be pretty packed, right? It should be, yeah. I was actually in the Ottawa area this weekend, and I'm trying to think of, we stopped in downtown on the way back, downtown Peterborough, yesterday for lunch. And it was, I know it's a holiday and businesses maybe are closed and stuff, but again, it's the summertime. It's the last day before school starts, and things should be packed, right, in a downtown core. Now, when we passed the outlet mall in Toronto, it was disgustingly packed. So it's like that small niche, small business model seems to be not as popular, you know, and those small, those downtown areas just aren't hopping anymore. And it's sad. It's creepy. It's sad to see.
Yeah. So you went down. How many days did you spend there, Liz? And you took your kids with you?
There 3 days. 3 days. Yeah. And, you know, the kids were just in awe. They couldn't believe it. They were quite happy. You know, they were looking around and having a blast, just seeing how happy everybody was. They were impressed with everything, looking around, and they had people coming up and talking to them because I think people were just so excited to see kids there, and they wanted to talk to them and see how they felt about it and all of those things. And it was cool. It was really neat for them to experience that. And yeah, it was yeah, I'm so glad and so proud that my children got to see it firsthand, because no matter how it's written, they know what the truth is.
Yeah. So did it made an impression on them in a
Yeah.
positive way?
Yep. Yeah, and they still talk about it. They still talk about it, talk about how cool it was. They loved all, you know, all the trucks, especially Liam. He loved all the trucks. You know, seeing all the big trucks is really, really cool. I think they, you know, sometimes you're a little bit nervous when you go into a huge crowd like that, because it was really hard to tell when we were there where it began and where it ended and all of that. So it's kind of, when you first enter something like that, it can be overwhelming and intimidating a little bit, right? Because you don't know how. I mean, again, I've been to plenty of bars and concerts and things like that, and sometimes things can go awry, but it was not like that at all. It was so peaceful, and I think that was the big impression for them, was seeing all of those people in one area and no fights, no negativity, no confrontations, nothing. Everybody was so happy and loving and peaceful, welcoming. Yeah.
So after 6 months, do you remember this happening? Have we got her now? I think so.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Listen to the way that this police officer speaks to the guy with the camera.
What did he do wrong?
Did he use the F word?
Yep.
That's a police officer using the F word to a
You
citizen
don't
with a
have to
camera.
answer that.
At least that's what it sounded
You
like
don't
to
have
me.
to answer his question.
No, it
sir.
was. This
You
is my
don't
second
have
time
to answer
watching.
his question, sir.
He does that.
No, he
You want
doesn't.
comments? Film me from the sidewalk.
Fuck
You
off.
want comments? Film me from the sidewalk.
Yes, I know. You're abusing old men.
You swung at me.
That you're not a Canadian.
If I swung at you, it's on film, so you're fine.
Because I couldn't the horn. Yeah.
Come and hit me.
Yeah, it's called communism.
That is why you're pulled
It's
over.
called communism. It's communism. You don't have to show anything. You didn't do anything wrong.
I know I have.
You have the right of freedom of choice. You have the right to beep your horn or whatever. Why are you doing this?
Because it's an offense.
Of
It's an
what?
offense to beep your noise.
No, it is not an offense since
It is.
when?
Tell me it's not. I have it written down that it is. It's actually an
So
offense.
you're
Right?
standing with your lying government? You're lying cop.
Driver's license.
He's right.
Do you know that your superior is a liar and he went on the media lying to the Canadian people? Now you're
Talk to
doing
the
this?
police, have me fired. Have me
What's
fired.
your name and badge number?
2192 Jones.
Jones.
There. You have everything you need to have me fired.
Yeah,
for
look
abuse
what
of
they're doing to an old man. That's a citizen of Canada.
Shoot at the horn. He's pissed off.
That's right.
I can
So
tell
is
him
everybody who lives here.
I can be a
Doesn't
real-
matter. This is the capital of Canada. Drop your mandates. Stand
I
down.
don't have
You're not doing your job. You're representing hate. You're a terrorist. You're a terrorist. You're representing hate. No, you're representing hate.
Call your lawyer.
You'd be really-
Wow.
I don't care. Give me your driver's license. Insurance registration.
You have to fuck up the middle. Whatever. Maybe you're on his side, but I mean, it's
Okay.
because I should have gone to that fight that he got flagged.
That's right. He's a supporter for Canadian freedom. Who cares?
And of course,
They
the
shouldn't
officer
live in
does
the
such a
capital
great
of
job. It
Canada,
just
then. They
gets
better
even
leave.
better.
Because until the mandates are ended, this is not going to stop. Stop harassing old men. You don't have to show them anything. It's against the law. You just.
Oh yeah,
What?
this
Hey,
is great.
What are you doing?
Good job.
Hey, hey,
There you go. Oh
that's
yeah.
assault. I've got it all on video. Yeah, he failed to ID.
Get back! Hey! Hey! Get back! Get back!
We're back. We're filming. We're doing our part.
Hmm.
It's all on video. No, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Hey, Rick, stand down. Stand down. Stand down. Rick, no, it's peaceful. No, let them be.
Attack me, you fucking goof! Fucking not doing shit. Touch me, punk ass.
This is going right to the media.
This is Canada
Me too.
today.
What's your name and
Canada.
badge number? What's your name and badge number? What's your name and badge number? What's your name and badge number?
Yeah, you're
Look, they're hurting an old man, a Canadian citizen. Communism. This is communism. He's scared. Communist.
You stand with the communist fucking government.
Call your police chief. He'll back you up.
Call the police.
Call your police chief. Arrested an old man. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Tooting his horn.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Beep beep.
Yeah, I know he beat the horn.
Off
What
to
the
jail
fuck
with
do they
you.
represent? They represent Trudeau and the police chief slowly. That's what they represent. Hate, division. You are not protecting and serving nobody. Communism right here. Lest we forget. Fight for your rights. This is bullshit. Communist.
This was
fucking
Ottawa.
police.
Ottawa.
What's your name and
Ottawa.
badge?
Thoughts?
Man, I remember the pictures. That guy came public with his injuries after the fact, and he had bruises all over.
Shameful.
What a bunch of scumbags. The Canada I grew up with, or we all grew up with, is dead as far as I'm concerned. Like, this is...
I lost confidence in police after Ottawa.
Yeah, I don't
Period.
trust them
Don't trust him anymore.
at all.
The guy went beep beep, and that's how they handled it. They took him into custody.
And I know we told the story about how Liz received her Reopening Act ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust them for that reason too.
Yeah, and they made it seem like they weren't going to, right? They made it seem like they weren't going to ticket me because the people who were there with us, they said, well, if you ticket her, you're going to have to ticket all of us. Right. And so they made it seem like, okay, well, finish up, make your point, and then move along. That's kind of what they said. They made it seem like they weren't going to do anything. And then 2 days later, they show up on my doorstep.
Those are deceitful, unhonest tactics.
Well, and what they did there to that gentleman, I mean, it's an understatement to say it's overkill. Right?
It's
a little
much.
beep beep, and that is how it had to escalate. Why did they need to even say anything? He probably wouldn't have honked again. It was beep beep, and then he was gonna move along and whatever. But they had to do that to him.
Yeah, he was already on his way. He was leaving. They chased him, pulled him over to do all of that.
Yeah.
Like,
We're
better
tired.
catch him. He's going to get away. This is 1 Adam 12, 1 Adam 12. We have a suspect. We're in pursuit. What the? He beeped his horn.
We got a live honker here, folks.
That's right.
Holy smokes. No,
Ah,
as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to police, like, don't tell them nothing. Don't tell them nothing ever.
like, do they really, like, I hate to say it this way, but do they not have anything better to do? Or is there no real crime to worry about in the city? They had to pull over a little old man who's what, 5 feet nothing, maybe 4'8", 4 feet 8 inches. I don't know how tall, just a small gentleman, right? Oh, he's a big threat. He honked his horn. Never should have been a law to begin with. They never should have pursued him, never should have pulled him over. None of that ever should have happened.
Well, they did report that crime was down massively while the convoy was there. So maybe they were just bored.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
But they
Yeah,
sounded so grumpy. Like, did you listen to how the cops were behaving in that video? They were so grumpy, like overwork grumpy.
I have it written down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe I should just write a bunch of stuff down and call that a law.
Yeah. And that was a prelude to all of this.
Oh yeah.
But if I have a message for everyone else, stop being surprised, don't act surprised. You can be angry, you can be upset, you can be sad. I'm with you. I'm there with you. Don't be surprised. Okay, we got a push coming.
They're pushing right at the snowbank that we were just in front of there. I don't know where Igor is. I know that Igor's my cameraman. We love Igor.
This was
I don't
Greg
know
Blackworth
where he went off
at
to,
the
but
time.
it's insane. Total insanity.
Now, Liz, you weren't there for this stuff, right? Or were you? I don't think you were there for any of this. I know Carla was.
Yeah, she was there for that.
Every once in a while, reinforce the line and then just push.
So were you watching this from home, I guess, at the time?
Yep.
And what were you thinking? What were you feeling?
I was on the edge of my seat the whole time when the police started pushing back against the people. I was just so concerned and scared for everybody. I didn't want people to get hurt. I didn't want it to break out into violence, which it never did, right? So that was a relief. But I was on the edge of my seat the whole time because to see people get pushed, to see people get hurt, that journalist, the Rebel News journalist that got shot in the leg with the canister there, that was awful to watch that and to hear her scream, and you knew how much pain she was in, and the attitudes, everything was going, so smoothly and so well until all of that pushback started to happen. And that's when things escalated. And it was just, I don't know, it was so nerve-wracking to watch. And I was just praying for all those people that nothing over the top bad would happen. Some over the top bad things did happen, but I was praying that there wouldn't be anything fatal, that there wouldn't be any riots or anything like that. And what a miracle that didn't happen, eh? Wouldn't you say it's a miracle that no riots happened? Like, that should tell everybody something right there.
They probably called it a riot anyway.
Well, they keep calling it an illegal occupation even to this day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. The judge ruled that they were there legally.
Right.
Right. And so to sit there, you still have politicians calling it an illegal occupation is just absolutely ridiculous.
You can see from this footage, it's still up online. Everything is archived. You can go back and watch all of the live streams that we posted. It's all still there. It's all in history now, but you can go and view it all. And no matter how hard the cops pushed, the crowd remained peaceful.
Hmm.
In fact, I didn't see a single case of anyone pushing back against police at all. Even though they did charge people like Randy Hillier with, I think they charged him with assaulting a police officer.
Yeah,
If you look
something
at the
like that.
footage, I think all he did was he moved a barricade like 6 inches or 8 inches or something to the side. And for whatever reason, they said that was assault on a police officer. When I didn't even see him touch anybody. That was as close to assault on a police officer as we ever got. That was it. And while the cops came in and beat people with batons, fired tear gas canisters, and did other terrible things to the people. They literally beat people. They beat veterans
They
Yeah.
at the
relish.
War Memorial.
They relished in it too. We remember the leaked conversations and group chats from the RCMP. They relished in doing all of that.
Well,
Look
some
at
of
that. Look at that guy. He just hit that woman.
them do, they love that stuff, right? They love that authority. They love that aggression. And then there's many police officers out there that thought all of this was BS, that none of this should have been happening. Some of them stood up, right? On Guard for the E and organizations like that.
Yeah. I just, this just in, I wanted to cry when I watched this.
Mm-hmm.
I was angry.
Oh, you were pissed.
And I still to this day blame Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. Oh, his language, absolutely evil and disgusting. He is a disgusting, disgusting soul. I would argue he's soulless. He is evil. He doesn't give a crap about anybody. The language he used against his own citizens, like, how do you speak that way towards people when you're supposed to be the leader of the country? You're supposed to inspire. You're supposed to create unity, not create hate. He created hate. He is hate.
Yep.
It's funny you mentioned that. Joe Biden's the same thing
Yes.
with his Emperor Palpatine speech there.
Oh, geez, that was so creepy.
Ugh. Sorry, I didn't
I'm
mean to
like,
get
how
off
could they
topic.
even allow this to happen? The visual itself was enough, let alone the words he said. The visual itself was like, is this a movie or like, wow, how can you let this happen?
We were inspired by the movie V for Vendetta. It was
Jeez. I couldn't believe my eyes. And then I couldn't believe my ears. Just crazy.
when's
Just
Trudeau
crazy.
going to do the same thing? Anytime now.
Yeah. It's like we're living in upside down, backwards world.
Yeah.
Everything's gone so freaking weird.
Yeah.
Evil is good. Bad is good, and good is bad now. It feels like.
Well, that Biden speech looked like it came straight out of the depths of hell.
Yeah. Holy smokes.
And this never had to happen. All Justin Trudeau had to do was come out and agree to just talk to people. Just just have a conversation. And then none of this would have had to happen. None of it. You could have diffused the whole thing, de-escalated, just said, hey, you know, we're doing our best. We're trying to keep people safe. We're going to do this. And what's on your mind? What can we do? How can we work together? What's your concern? Let's have a discussion. Okay, we've talked about it. Let's continue to work together, and maybe we could have you guys park your rigs up there, and you guys move over there, and we'll work this out. But no, he had to call in. He had to get the mayor and the premier, Doug Ford, get everybody all organized, and then call in the goons, turn the police service into a paramilitary force, and then invoke the frickin' Emergencies Act. I was losing my mind when he did that.
Yeah.
That's a form of martial law. That's the War Measures Act. That was a declaration of war on his own people. That's what I said the other night about Biden's speech. He declared war on practically half the population of the United States. He attacked his own people. He attacked half the voters out there. I don't know how you expect to win an election by attacking the voters. That was stupid, but he did it. I guess he's just banking on the other half of the people being bigger, I guess more than half on his side. And, you know, I don't know. It's just bizarro world, man. But the playbook is the same.
Even for Hollywood.
Yeah, you demonize half these people as domestic terrorists, and they're both doing it. Down in the States, it's the MAGA Republicans are evil, and they're a bunch of racists. And up in Canada, it's all the freedom fighters and the truckers and the farmers. They're all evil racists. Same strategy, just a different country, slightly different descriptions of the people, but really it comes down to the hardworking middle-class people that won't comply with their demands. That's what it comes down to.
It's funny because there's that new Lord of the Rings series out there put out by Amazon called Rings of Power. So there's been a lot of criticism on the internet in the build-up to it coming out about the show not following in the footsteps of J.R.R. Tolkien's work, the author of the Lord of the Rings, and Amazon and the actors who participated in making Rings of Power, they all come out and attack the fan base. It's like, wow, for real? That's what you're going to do? And Hollywood does that sort of thing all the time. They attack the fan base that criticizes things. And it's no different than Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau. Same thing.
So now they have to have this commission is going to hold hearings and review the use of the Emergencies Act. That's been delayed now until October because the judge who is serving as the chair has to undergo some medical procedure. Interesting that they don't reveal what his medical status is, and they don't tell us exactly why he's going into the hospital, because that would be a violation of his privacy, right? So we wouldn't want to disrespect that. He has his rights, right? The judge has his rights. But the public has an opportunity to have some input. So you can go to that website, publicorderemergencycommission.ca. I went through how you can submit your views last night. Do you guys have any faith in the process? What do you think?
Well, I think if history dictates or tells us all at all what could happen or won't happen, I would say it ain't gonna stick. Nothing seems to stick to Justin Trudeau, right? Like it's just every single issue and scandal that has come up about that guy, nothing has stuck to him, and people just let it go. Every time they just let it go. I don't know why. I don't get it.
It's the media.
Yeah, they
Right.
do protect him.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So no matter what the scandal is, whether it's blackface or SNC Lavalin, the We scandal, the We charity scandal, the media just, they pay lip service to it and then they move on.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, we reported on it. But no, they don't really hang on to it. They don't hold them accountable.
No,
They're not doing their jobs. What do you think, Brendan? Will this, what's your view on this upcoming commission?
It ain't gonna do nothing. We might get a good clip or two that might make me feel good remotely, somewhat, but as a whole, it's not going to be successful, and it's not going to change any narratives on it. Even if it does, the damage is already done. This is, like we said, 6 months ago now that all this happened. For the sheeple out there, this is in the back of their minds now, you know? The opinions were formulated on this back in February. Maybe I should sound more hopeful or something about it, but nobody gives a crap about these committees. Nobody watches them. Who's watching? The people who watch them are like us and the Maverick family out there. That's who watches those things. Your
Even
average.
still, though, what are the actual consequences that are possible?
I think his government could fall.
Maybe that'd be the best case scenario.
I'm not sure I'm optimistic because the media does protect him. However, invoking the Emergencies Act is very serious. The reason he dropped the idea of extending the Emergencies Act is because the information that was about to come out, and the information the Senate had, was such that the Senate it was becoming clear the Senate was not going to approve the extension of the use of the Emergencies Act. If the Senate had not approved it, Parliament did, but the Senate was not going to. If he had let that process evolve and it wasn't approved by the Senate, it would have resulted in a non-confidence vote. They would have had to have an election. His government would have fallen. People would have gone back to the polls. Same thing now. It's a requirement. They have to go through this procedure, this commission. Because of the nature of the act, the government has the power to invoke it without parliamentary approval, without Senate approval. And they did. Because it's like, if we're going to war, you don't have time, right? If there's a true existential threat because you're being invaded, then you say, oh, we have to do something right away. No time for a vote. We're taking everybody's rights away. War Measures Act, martial law, here we go. And that's what he did over this. So the bar is set very high. To meet the threshold, you have to meet a very high set of standards, right? There has to be a real reason. So he has to justify it now. So he has to justify what he did after the fact now. And if he can't, it shows that he abused his power, that he violated people's rights without justification. And the consequences for that can be very serious. I think it will result, if this unfolds properly, it will result in a non-confidence vote in the House of Commons. It will fail. His government will fall, unless the NDP props him up. But I don't think they will. Because if he can't justify it, then the other parties won't want to be a party to it. Because it's an abuse of people's rights.
The NDP wanted it.
Oh, they did want it. But
now they can throw them under the bus if they want to.
They can. And it's not just that. If through the process, it's revealed that he really had no justification for it, and they abused their power and were therefore abusing the people, then what politician wants to be associated with that? Now, that should be the outcome. All of that will depend on how much pressure the public applies, how much pressure the freedom movement applies through the process. The way to do that is by engaging in the process of you can submit just through an email your experience living through that period. How did the Emergencies Act impact you? What was the impact of the convoy on you?
Yeah.
And you just go to that website and they have to read every submission. So you can be sure that the anti-freedom side, the NDP, all those guys that wanted it, they have their people with all of their lies lined up, and they're filing their submissions en masse. We need our people to do the same thing. And show that people are not happy with what happened, and this is an opportunity for people to have their say. Certain people are being invited to appear before the commission and present their perspectives verbally in person. But the general public, anyone can submit their views through this process online. And they indicate that they will read every single one of them. They have to. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
So
Well-
what have we got to lose? I mean, and this is a real thing, right? This is a real, so I think everybody should do it.
I don't think we've heard enough talk about how when Justin Trudeau said whoever doesn't vote for a non-confidence vote or whoever doesn't vote in favor of the Emergencies Act is a non-confidence vote. I think by doing that, he kind of, that's him putting political pressure on everybody because we just had an election.
Yep.
Like that was so, that there was so crooked how he did that. It didn't have to be that way. He declared it a non-confidence vote. Like, wow, for real? So that means anybody in the Liberal Party would not be able to vote against it because that would be them saying that they don't have confidence in their leader.
But it was an appropriate position to take because anything that is that serious should be a vote of confidence in the government. If the government wants to invoke what is essentially martial law, they better have pretty much unanimous support for it or enough support to get it passed. And if they don't, and they're trying to do something that serious and use that kind of legislation, that kind of tool, then yes, it absolutely should be a vote of confidence or result in a vote of non-confidence if it's defeated. And that should then throw the question of whether the government has enough support from the public into question and trigger an election. It's the same with a budget. There's certain kinds of votes that automatically trigger an election because they're automatically a vote of non-confidence. If a budget is always a vote of confidence, then certainly the use of the Emergencies Act, which is the old War Measures Act, that should be as well. And because now they have to justify after the fact as part of the process, which is required, this can result in it too. And I have people calling in, sending me messages. They phone me at home personally, and they say, Rick, what can we do to get a vote of non-confidence? Well, this is how you do it. This is an opportunity to do just that in a real way.
So
I'm with you though. That judge is a liberal.
Yeah.
We know that he has ties to the Liberal government. So I'm concerned about the process from the beginning. I've been concerned that it's going to be some sort of a show trial. They'll try to and turn it so that it becomes not it won't be putting the government into the spotlight and what the government did. The government, Justin Trudeau, they're going to try to put the spotlight on the truckers and everything you're seeing on the screen right now, and try to turn it so that they put the truckers on trial during this hearing. That's the way it's going to go. That's why we need to support the truckers by submitting your email, which costs you nothing. You can write that thing up in 5 or 10 minutes and fire it off. That's all you have to do.
So for all those people who have asked in the past, asked Rick, what should we do then? This is what you should do.
Right. This is one of the things you can do.
Yeah. It's an easy, simple thing. It's not going to get you in trouble. It's not going to send you off into no man's land. And it's like Rick said, it's a real thing. So, and you get to have your voice heard. That's the cool part about it, is they have to read it. So,
and they're counting on us being discouraged and feeling like it's not going to make a difference. They're counting on that. Oh, people, it's not going to matter. Why even bother? You see? So then people don't. But I guarantee you, the other side they're doing it already. Because they know how important it is, and they're already trying to control the narrative before the commission even gets underway. We saw it. A preview of all of this was those hearings that were held in Ottawa municipally, where they had people come forward and provide submissions, and there was like an online Zoom meeting, and people talked about, how life was when the convoy was in town, and the Freedom people came in and they talked about what their experience was. Then the other side came in and they cried and they wailed and they made themselves out to be victims and talked about how they were afraid to walk around downtown and they had the smelling salts out. You can go back. I think it's still available online. I ran some of it on the show. There's one episode where I ran clips from it.
Yeah, I remember that. Speaking of going down memory lane and not trusting the police, a good spot to go is Twitter, where nothing ever gets deleted by the Ottawa police. I just shared something from the Ottawa police, if you want to pull that up. So we all remember the elderly woman who had a walker. She was holding the line. She got trampled by a horse. And the Ottawa police came out on February 19th and said, "We hear your concern for people on the ground after the horses dispersed a crowd. Anyone who fell got up and walked away. We're unaware of any injuries. A bicycle was thrown at the horse further down the line and caused the horse to trip. The horse was uninjured." Lies. Big lies. That's why you don't trust the police. Yeah. They just basically crapped all over that woman, that poor woman, and then they just wrote their own victory story. We were victorious.
So that's what we're up against still.
And look at this other talks. Like, look at this. Demonstrators, you must leave. Anyone found within the zone will be arrested.
Nice.
Look at that talk. Like, that's commie talk.
And it's all red and
Oh, and then we have this stupid apologetic tweet. Protesters, we told you to leave. We gave you the time to leave. We were slow and methodical. Yet you were assaultive and aggressive. Look at that language. Assaultive and aggressive with officers and the horses. And the horses. They literally trampled an elderly woman with a walker. You know what this is? This is some abusive relationship crap. If I ever seen a man talk like this to their wife, I would punch him in the mouth. Because that's exactly what we're seeing here. This is gaslighting. You were aggressive to our horses. Based on your behavior, we are responding by including helmets and batons for our safety. You see that? Ask yourself, anybody, if your marital partner talked to you that way, what would you do? Look at that. That's terrible. That's type of person who says that is the same person who goes, "Look what you made me do." You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
This hurts me more than it hurts you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's
gross.
Since then, we've seen police too at other rallies pull over freedom fighters, people with Canadian flags on their vehicles, just pull them over. We've shown video on here where the officers have honestly been very aggressive and insulting to the people that they've pulled over, saying, you know, you people. And then they're, you know, talking about how the freedom movement held the city hostage. I just don't know, man.
They wrote the narrative here, like,
yeah.
And that's, I think, again, that's the battle that we have to overcome, is how the narrative is going to be written now and going into the future. Because again, we've got some uphill battles coming. We all know it. We all know it. We all feel it. I mean, I've been kind of laying low, but I do realize I won't be able to stay laying low. Things are gonna be happening again. You know, like we said, like we talked about, Trudeau has already said that he's made an agreement to reduce the fertilizer for the farmers by 30%, right? He talks on and on and on about climate change and policies reflecting climate change. That'll be a battle. And then with him the other day talking about what the fall and winter is going to look like. We need, what did he say, 80, 85, 90% reshot up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up to date. And for what? For what? So then what does that mean? Again, how does that affect people? I know too many people now that have said, even though they got shot up, they're like, never again, never again. Okay, so are you going to stick to that? Or are you going to get pushed around again? And we need to somehow keep talking, but be able to get out of our echo chamber and be able to reach out and reach those people and let them know that they have people with them that have their back. And, you know, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go along with it. I can't. Can't. It's, with all the information that we know now, we just can't. I know most of us are just going to die on this hill as far as, you know, how we feel about it and the choices that we've made, and we're fine with that. But it's the other people who had some hope that this wasn't going to come back up again. And then what's going to happen when it does? And how are they going to feel? And are they actually going to stick up for themselves, or are they just going to be upset, but do it anyways. And I'm not talking about just the shot. I'm talking about everything. Talking about all aspects of their life. Because if they can get away with what they've gotten away with so far, what else are they going to try for?
I'm concerned that the message is that the general public is still not really getting an accurate picture of everything, especially as it relates to the thing in the arm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know what's going on, and Brendan, you know what's going on. But I don't think the mainstream media is, they're ignoring most of the
you hear
information.
the ads on the radio, Rick. You've mentioned that before. You mentioned that when you travel to Toronto and back, that you hear those ads on the radio. And I heard one today, and it was saying, just like you charge your phone, you have to charge your immune system. So get up to date.
Don't forget to be up to date.
They started that whole new campaign this week. The Canada's health minister talked about it last week, and it has rolled out. They have it ready to go, and that's exactly right.
It's launched.
And they've been all complicit. And I found out something kind of interesting from somebody who I know is a paramedic recently. They've been pushing this now in such a propagandic way that whoever it is that oversees this EMS worker, I'm not going to give any details, but they pushed out a program where they were supposed to run a vaccine clinic while being dressed as superheroes for kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible.
But in their mind, that's a positive thing. That's a good thing. We need to do that because that's the right thing to do. So dress up as that superhero and encourage those kids to get their vaccine. If you don't share that view, then you think it's an evil thing. It depends on your perspective. And that's the question. Will the public, where are people going to be as we roll into the fall? This is the question, right, Liz? What do you guys think? Are people going to roll up their sleeves again and do this or not?
I think they are.
I think so too.
I mean, I try to keep a positive attitude, but I just think they'll complain, but they'll go and do it because they don't want to not be able to travel. They don't want to lose their job. They don't they want to be part of society.
Yeah.
You know, and I get that. Get it, but there are certain things that I'm not willing to give up of myself in order to be part of society. I already got kicked out of society before. I'll do it again. It sucked, and it's hurtful to know that there's your neighbors, your friends, your family that are willing to just let you get thrown under the bus. That's hurtful when you realize that. But then you also realize who really has your back, right? At the same time.
Yeah.
Again, we've made up our minds and we're going to stick to our guns, but I feel bad for the people who really don't want to do it again, who really don't want to go through this again. And, you know, they just, something's telling them it's just not right. It's just not right. But, you know, I have people super duper close to me who got coerced into getting the thing in the arm. And it was it was so stressful for them. It was so awful for them. And so what happens? What happens if they're coerced into it again, and then something bad happens? What if they die? What if they react horribly? What if, just then what?
Well, I think what will depend on what's going to happen next is whether or not the government decides that they need to make life difficult for people who are going to say no. I've always been a contrarian.
Yeah.
From the land of misfit toys, if you will.
Yeah, me too.
I've never been with it in so many ways, And at the same time, like, if they're going to stop me from going to a restaurant, well, then to hell with them. I don't need them. But that's just me. I'm capable of living my life.
So that comment that you put up there, it's, like, dude, you need to wake the hell up, okay? Just because there is a war in another country, and let's be real here, those people exposed to that war, those Ukrainians, they didn't ask for any of that, and neither did the Russians. They don't get a say, okay? So we're fully aware of the BS that's going on with them and innocent people dying, okay? That doesn't make it right to force people to get an injection of who the hell knows what into their body. Like I said earlier, guy, sir, when there is risk involved, you need to have the free will to make your own damn decision whether you're going to take that risk. So you can sit there and compare it like an idiot to the Ukrainian war, but you're comparing apples to oranges, buddy, okay? Because if you go and you ask anybody who came from tyranny, who came from a dictatorship, they will tell you exactly the warning signs of going down that path, how their country got there, okay? And they're going to say the same damn things that are happening to this country right now. So grab a brain and wake the hell up. Sorry.
No.
That was my rant.
Sean clearly agrees with you. And so do I.
Sabaya.
Yeah.
I think Sir Bayer is right. We should all be paying more at the gas pump because of Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I think that we should all understand that there isn't any Nazis in Ukraine. They're just Ukrainian Nazis. They're different than Nazis. You have to understand this. Liz and Rick, you guys need to put your brain in on the washboard and scrub it. Some good brainwashing. That's what you guys need.
I think that we need an auditor to take a look at the money that was spent on weapons. And we need an auditor to physically go to Ukraine and figure out exactly where those weapons wound up. Just so we can be sure that they're being used properly and that they're in the right hands, and that our money was well spent, properly spent. I'd like to know. Is any of this being tracked?
It really frustrates me, and the innocent people that get dragged into these wars for what? For these rich elite jerk offs to have their little war? Like that. What are they doing to try to end this thing? It's okay to throw all these weapons and whatever at the citizens of Ukraine and expect them to face this battle themselves. That's okay. Yeah, we're going to just go ahead and do that. that's how we're going to deal with this thing.
They had a peace agreement in April. I think I sent you that.
You did. Yep. Yeah.
And this guy here too, he's a real piece of work. I've seen him on the chats. Or guy, I'm saying guy, I don't know. You could be a woman, who knows? You know, people have decided all throughout history to not get vaccinated for this, that, or the other thing. Again, when there is risk involved, it has to be freedom of choice. It has to be the individual's choice whether they're going to take that risk or not. And that goes for all the vaccines. I've never felt that somebody who doesn't go out and my kids have had all their childhood vaccines and all that. Same with me. I never looked down at people. That's a problem with people like this. Okay. You look down at somebody because they didn't make the same decision as you. Really? So, like, are you supposed to be the caring one? Are you supposed to be the accepting one, the all accepting, all inclusive? I don't think so. You are the biggest bigot out there. Let people be. Leave them alone. Let them make their own damn decisions. It's not your life.
Polio is not back because people weren't getting vaccinated. That has nothing to do with it. The polio vaccine is effective. If you get a polio vaccine, or at least if you used to get a polio vaccine, you wouldn't get polio. That's why it was so effective, and that's why so many people got it. I've had the polio vaccine, and I won't get polio. At least I shouldn't, except that it seems polio, strangely, just within the last, year or so, it's reemerged. What has changed? Is it because fewer people are getting the polio vaccine? I don't think so. That's not it. What has changed? Not 50, Damius. What has changed?
He wouldn't. I shouldn't assume. Maybe he knows the answer. Why don't you enlighten us?
Yeah. What's different now? Why has polio reemerged?
I don't know. Has it actually reemerged?
Yeah, it is. It's back. It's not widespread, but they're tracking it, and it is reemerging. I have my own opinion on that. We're seeing a few different illnesses pop up now, like monkeypox.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little concerned about the health of people's immune systems. It seems some people's immune systems are weakened for some reason, and I can't imagine why. But I don't think it's because people aren't getting the polio vaccine. It was pretty much wiped out here in North America. Now they've seen cases.
Well, you also have to I have a heavy amount of skepticism for this because globally and in the United States and in Canada, there's still cases of bubonic plague. Like the WHO, I think the number was something like 2,000 bubonic plague cases a year. Okay, so we're making this big freak show about monkeypox, but what if we were to do that about bubonic plague and we highlighted every single case and that's all we ever heard about? Well, is polio really back, or was it always there and just nobody gave a shit? Like the bubonic plague. Nobody has given a crap about it since, 1500 AD? You can still give a crap about bubonic plague. Look it up. It happens all the time.
One way or another, I don't think it's correct to blame anti-vaxxers for the reemergence of an illness.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Hey, somebody's joining us.
Silly.
Look who it is.
Hey,
Hey, Glory.
I finally made it. Sorry for the delay, guys. I've had a house full of guests here for the holiday, and they were supposed to fly out this morning, and their flight got canceled.
Oh, no.
Like so many flights have been canceled this Labor Day holiday weekend. So they're sleeping in the bedroom that I use from my studio. And I finally convinced them to go out for dinner, make yourself scarce for a little while.
You
don't
don't have
mean
to
to
go
be-
home, but you can't stay here.
That's right.
So
That's what I'm
you
like.
guys have never actually met before.
No, it's an honor, a pleasure, and a
Well,
privilege.
everybody
sir.
meet Lori, and Lori meet everybody.
Hi,
Lori.
Liz. Great to meet you.
You as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been enjoying the show today. I was watching, but it was driving me crazy because I couldn't like join in until they left for dinner. So sorry to come blazing in at the last minute. Really, I just wanted to pop in and say hello and join you guys for a little while.
Yeah. Well, thank you for teeing up those clips. That was extremely helpful. And thank you for suggesting we do this because it's been a great show. And a
It
great
has
review.
been a great show. It's nice after 6 months to just look back. I got a lot of new inspiration going back and looking at the convoy in Ottawa again. It's so hard for me to look at how it ended though. Those are the clips I did not include. I know Rick played some, but I wanted to remember the good parts. I wanted to remember the fun times in Ottawa and to remind people that when you're determined to get something done and you stay peaceful and creative and you can do amazing things. You can do great, great things. And we did. You did. You Canadians did.
We did. And then we have a continuation of what
I'm crying.
inspires me just as much.
I am. I'm
What
crying.
inspires me just as much are people like James Top. Right?
I love James.
We talk about leaders and people who can inspire and people who can think creatively, and that's who I think of. I think of James Top. He's so, he knows the system, right? He served. He's a veteran. He knows. He has that experience of being in the military, and he has the discipline. I think having that inside information of how the system thinks and being right in it at one point. I get inspired when I watch him.
Me too.
Yeah. And
I
he's
get inspired when I watch this old
peaceful. There's
footage.
nothing wrong
I've
with
had a
him.
blast these past couple of weeks. Originally, this started out as a birthday tribute for Rick. It was just my way of saying thanks for working so hard these past 6 months, every night, 7 nights a week. You too, Brendan. Now I can thank you personally. Thank you for everything that you've done with this show, with building it, with your coverage of the convoy. I mean, you guys were there on day one and you were live sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, every day for the entire convoy, and you kept it going. And Maverick News just kept growing as the freedom movement kept growing. And it's all just so amazing. You guys want to take a look back?
Yeah.
To the fun stuff? It's the fun stuff. Let's roll some of this.
And you know why?
Wait, you had
because it's the people speaking. Their power comes from the people, and these are the people. These are not terrorists. These are ordinary, everyday Canadians. These are the people. These are your next door neighbors, your friends, maybe your family members down here. And we're seeing people from all walks of life, every ethnicity, every skin color. These are everyday, regular Canadians.
Yeah.
And it just keeps on growing because here's the deal, man. The people are supporting this, not the politicians. The people are not, the politicians have lost the support of the people. That means they don't have the power anymore. They just don't. You can see it.
Yeah.
And you can call them terrorists if you want, and you can get your cops to go on down there and bust heads or slap on the cuffs or do whatever it is you think they need to do. But the harder you squeeze, the more you're going to lose your grip. And they've lost it, man. They've lost their grip. And yet this has been completely peaceful in spite of all the propaganda and the BS that the mainstream media has been feeding people. This has been completely peaceful.
That's the thing, right? So I'm going to use a drastic example here, and by no means am I comparing our situation to something like North Korea. But what I would say is, even in the most tyrannical state in the world, North Korea, people get together in houses, shutter all the curtains, and watch South Korean TV and movies that people smuggle
Look,
in
see there? You see
on
there?
little USBs.
What's that guy doing right there? What's he doing? He's shoveling snow.
Yeah.
That's not a city worker. That's somebody down there. He's part of this whole convoy protest. And that's what they've been doing. They've been cleaning up the streets. The city hasn't been clearing these sidewalks. The protesters have been doing it, folks.
Yeah. And, just getting to my point there is that you can try and stamp out freedom, but it's not that easy. Even looking at the most tyrannical state in the world, they still can't contain what people actually want.
And the people want their freedom. That's it. But has let this drag on so long that I stand by my prediction made last night that this will not only that these truckers and farmers and protesters of all kinds, they're not just going to get the mandates lifted.
Yeah.
They're going to get the other thing they want. They're going to get Justin Trudeau's they're going to get him Justin Trudeau's going to have to step down. He's going to be gone. Gonzo. This is going to cost him his job as PM and leader of the Liberal Party. You mark my words. The cracks in his support, even within his own party, are already beginning to show, with now 2 of his MPs breaking ranks. Mm-hmm. And sorry, go ahead, Brendan.
Speaking of predictions, I'm out of them. I predicted this would have been over by yesterday. I'm at predictions. We are in uncharted waters here. I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody knows for sure what's going to happen, but I think the writing is on the wall. I think this thing is, even if the cops and the municipality and the federal government and Justin Trudeau find a way to get all these trucks out of here and arrest all these people and label them terrorists. And there's the Porta-Johns. Okay. All the rumors that you've been hearing about defecation in the street and blah, 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 blah. We've been showing you from the beginning raw footage down there and not one shred of evidence of any of that. It's all a big lie. But even if they get these trucks out of here, my point is you're seeing the freedom movement spread to border points now, to other large cities. Even in small towns, smaller convoys are forming, even on weekends, where people are just getting together to drive around with flags on their cars to show their Canadian pride and show their support for this freedom movement. It's happening right across Canada. So they could shut this down, yank all these trucks out of here, throw every one of the people that's there in jail, and they still won't stop it. You can't stop it now. You can't. Freedom is finding a way. Freedom. And I don't know how freedom became a dirty word, but it seems like the anti-freedom movement is afraid of freedom. It's weird. It's like, and then they're saying, well, Justin Trudeau stands there and says, tells you that the best way to get your freedom back is to give up your freedom.
I saw some liberal media commentary.
The best way to get your freedom back is to give up your freedom. Isn't that basically what he said?
That's basically what he said.
And that's a Thursday night. That's pretty, the big crowds were always on the weekends, but still not bad for a Thursday. That's Thursday, February 11th.
Oh, look, there's Liz Valee
And see
commenting
when,
on.
yeah. And see, when he invoked the Emergencies Act, that's what he was saying then too. He was essentially saying, we're invoking the Emergencies Act to preserve your rights. When while he was taking all your rights away.
Yeah.
There's that circular
I
logic.
still stand by what I said. I just was off on the timing. I still think this is going to cost him his job.
One.
It's
could
just a
hope.
matter of time.
I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
All I know is that he probably won't get some United Nations job like he was hoping.
Well, they already didn't want
God,
to.
I hope not. Do you
Yeah.
imagine that guy being Secretary General of the UN?
Ugh.
Yikes. That's a scary thought.
Yeah, UN probably won't have anything to do with him. Maybe Klaus Schwab might keep him penetrated. I'm not sure.
Hey, not 50 Damius. I'm absolutely inciting. I'm inciting love and peace.
For freedom.
And I'm inciting people to question things and stand up for their rights and remain peaceful and lawful. That's what I'm inciting. And I'm inciting people to vote. And I'll keep on inciting in just that way. Thanks for making people aware.
Well, guys, I gotta go. These
Yep.
kids have to go to bed. So
Yep. And it is 9 p.m. I think we're going to wrap up here, guys. Liz, thank you.
oh, thank you. It was awesome to be back on and awesome to see you guys. Awesome to meet you, Lori.
Great to meet you, Liz. Thanks for all your wonderful coverage of the convoy 6 months ago for Maverick News. You did great work. I've been going through the archives and just been blown away by your work. Thanks.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry Carla didn't make it on. She said she
Yeah,
was going
it's
to, but something must have come up. So
That's okay.
that's the way that goes. But
It's
she
never
did,
too late for Carla. We can get her
yeah.
on anytime.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll get her on another night.
Yeah, exactly.
And Brendan,
I
love you, man.
love you too, brother.
See, the love is still there. I love it.
Yeah, everybody misses you.
You bet it is.
Everybody misses you, Brendan.
I miss you guys too.
I've missed you. I'm just trying to help Rick hold down the fort until you come back. So hurry. Hurry back, brother. Please.
Well, I do appreciate your work, Lori. You've been doing a bang up job, I think.
Oh, thanks. My pleasure. You got big shoes to fill, though.
I
Big
don't
shoes
know.
to
I'm only
fill.
a size 10. Pretty small for a man's feet.
I got some growing to do. I'm size 5.5. You don't look like a size 10. I'm impressed, dude.
That's
That's
You know what they
toe.
say about men with big feet?
That's tiny.
Exactly.
Foot. Baby toe. I know lots of people with like size 12, 15. Holy gee.
Big feet, big heart,
Yep.
and
That's right.
and a lust for freedom.
You know, I don't know. We got invaded again in our chat room tonight. I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys noticed, but about halfway through the show, we got all these folks that just flooded in, don't know who they are. They're not usually regular chatters here. And they're like, who got charges? Who still has charges against them in Ottawa?
What about the porn bots?
And yeah, I think they
didn't see
must
those.
be with them.
Missed
Maybe they're all
those.
together. And
Well,
it's
I'm
like,
not sure who it is, but there is someone still in prison.
Oh.
Yes,
I've heard that, but I don't have any way of confirming it.
Yeah, I'm sure
But
that there is.
If
I
you
just
really
don't have
want to
the name.
know and you're not just here to troll, dude, it's not hard to use Google. Okay. You go to the court, you look at the docket, and you just follow the cases. If that's really your concern and you're really interested to know about the injustice that's still going on, yes, still going on. Matt King still has charges. Tamara Litch still has charges. George, all of their records are sullied now with criminal charges. So if you are concerned, and you should be, Use the internet, damn it. It's not hard. You expect us to tell you everything? You want every name? There are hundreds of people, hundreds, who had charges laid against them. They're just not famous like Pat and Tamara and George. They're not as well known, but they're out there and you can find them in the court dockets.
Yeah.
And their cases are still going through the courts, And several did get their charges completely dropped. I think there was a group of 50 or 60 that had their charges dropped. We were talking about it last week, Rick. It was a big win for our side.
Yeah.
And all the charges need to be dropped. All the charges against all the Freedom Convoy protesters. Y'all did nothing wrong. There's no reason you should have to have a criminal mark on your record for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Liz, before we sign off?
Yes, I just want to let the people know out there, the best thing we can do right now is to keep talking to each other and to keep sharing ideas, and keep in mind all the freedom fighters out there. I see a lot of infighting. It's not necessary, guys. You're going to disagree on the smaller topics. What we do agree on is that freedom is the most important thing. And once we can get that, then we can start managing the smaller topics. But there's no point in infighting with each other. It really is not helpful. It's not useful at all. So keep talking to each other, talk it out. You don't have to get rude. You don't have to try to destroy each other, try to be the bigger hero than the next person. It's all about just keeping in communication with each other. And then as you talk to people, especially if you can get those in-person conversations, you can actually start to change people's perspectives, even the people who don't agree with you, who maybe think freedom is a bad word, is the F word, right? You can start by having that conversation, keeping an open mind, and hear them first, and then talk about it. You can actually start to change minds. And that is what we have to do. We can't do this with what we have right now. All those people that are kind of tired of all of this stuff, but not really ready or know why or how they want to step up or speak out or even just kind of resist, they're not there yet. Show some compassion and show some patience and talk to them and show them that we have more in common with them than we don't have in common. And just by showing some love and compassion, we can get our country and countries to unite together in that common goal and come together and actually make some real changes. But we need to be together. We can't do it by ourselves.
Amen.
And Brendan, the final word to you, sir.
Oh, I guess I would say bow to nobody but God. Hold the line.
Hold the line.
There you go. Folks, we'll be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia Productions.